Let's break the mold, start believing, and stop waiting for the other shoe to drop. Welcome to Wild on 7, presented by Pilot Games. We're here until it's here.
All right, welcome back. This is Wild on 7th, your favorite Wild podcast, presented by Pilot Games. Hey, special thanks to the sponsors, Pilot Games. We've got Duke Cannon, Aquarius Home Services, Jimmy Salad and Dips. A little shout out to all those guys. We got a fun little podcast here today. We've got a new guest, which was pretty awesome. I enjoyed our time with him. We'll get to that in a minute. But before we do, we're going to touch on stuff like Marco Rossi being sent to the minors, the Wild, where their game's at right now. Some things, Thanksgiving, perhaps more holiday content around the Wild, and some other stuff. But that's where I'll bring you in here, Kinger. How have you been, my man?
Well, it's that time of year, we're going to be moving into a new home. So I had to do all of the holiday cards, and I had to send them early because you have to get it out. Like, we have a new address. It's like there's a lot of pressure
to get that.
You don't want the cards going to the old place.
So and now we're into Christmas card or holiday card.
It's a
etiquette.
I had to make a preemptive strike as a responsible annual holiday card giver. And one of the things I did was reach out to you because now that we're super good friends, even though I didn't send you a card last year, which is amazing, as far as I can tell, keep good records. So you said your family. Why don't you tell me what you told me that your family made a choice this year?
Well, Christmas cards are weird because if somebody sends you one, there's like an obligation to send one back, right? And
what are you trying to say?
Well, you almost have to. It has to be. It seems like it has to be even. And you're going through something at your household. Yeah. So my wife is a little upset with me right now.
So how does this go down? How does you're like, we should take a family photo for the holiday card. And she's like, no, we shouldn't because you have a terrible mustache.
It's been like 10 straight years that I've ruined the holiday photos because of my mustache. And she finally put her foot down this year. It's like, I'm not taking a photo with you and that mustache.
So there is a bright side to this. I do believe
we don't have a Christmas card.
Once you get off the holiday card carousel, I don't think you ever get back on. I think you're out.
So wait, hold on, because this is important.
I think you're literally done.
This is important because then I can say to my wife when I get home today that said, you're actually using my mustache as you're out.
That's right.
Of doing the holiday Christmas cards.
Yeah. It's essentially her alibi. She probably always hated holiday cards. Other people maybe make nicer ones. She doesn't know which one to pick out. She can't find the Shutterfly code.
Well, I do know that this stresses her out. What do you do with all of the holiday cards?
Oh, I'm so into it. So I have a spreadsheet, and I put a yellow highlight on anyone I send to, and then I bold the type if they send back, and then I keep stats. How many did I send to? And I have people I'm trying to cut, so I print out their address. I'm trying to cut them, and then when their card comes, I'm like, damn it. And I just, because you got to reciprocate to your earlier point. But yeah, I judge them. I look for themes, what's going on, who's putting out their best self, and who's struggling a little bit.
Do you think that Instagram is taking the place of the holiday card? Because it's just everybody. It's like their perfect family moments, all caught up on one card. Do you analyze this? Is it card stock? Is it photo?
Yep.
You give it the old shake.
Is it a lined envelope? That's an extra deal. Are they using a seal, a family seal, like a wax dip kind of deal? I'm paying attention to all that stuff. I don't like the letters. I don't really want to read your letter. But our card this year I think you'll find it refreshing. It's the opposite of a braggy holiday card. It's like basically the day we moved out of our old house and there's garbage bags all over and we just look terrible.
So the unfortunate part is I already told you that we're not making holiday cards. Otherwise, I could tell you that we made them and just sent them to your old address, and then I would have been square.
Yeah, I do want to dig into this further. I think this is something we continue to come back to. Let's find out if
throughout the holiday season,
this was your wife's way of eliminating something she doesn't like doing and using your beautiful mustache as a scapegoat.
Yeah. You're right, and I think we'll have to touch on it. If you guys have comments, leave them below, whether that be the YouTube page,
even some
Instagram,
support
Twitter.
if you like the
let us
mustache.
know. Let us know what you think. But speaking of sending things away, I think this is a good segue into our guy Marco Rossi, who has recently been sent.
That's a nice way to do it.
sent to Iowa. And you know what? Like I'll be honest. I'm floored that there's like such a big deal being made of it. It happens all the time to all prospects. And we talked to Ryan Miller earlier, and he said it's great for every player to play in the American Hockey League and to develop those things. I think there's like this feeling that it's like it's bad news, right? Or that it's a negative thing. And for me, that's not the case at all. Like he gets a chance to go down there and play. He's got one game, and last I checked, he had a goal and 2 assists, and the game wasn't over yet, right? So.
And he was frustrated. I know a player would never say they wanted to get set down, and that's not the case. But he just had this look like, he just was so frustrated. And I think going down there and marinating a little bit and feeling himself and reminding himself how good he is, I think it's going to be good for him. I mean, look what happened to Boldy. Boldy went down there and was in the crock pot, and he came out as a point-a-game guy.
Yeah, and again, that's the way I look at it. This is normal development of a player. And if you're looking at Marco Rossi and you're trying to say, how do we make him the best possible player we can, which should be the goal of the organization, sometimes that might mean sending him back down to Iowa to play in situations. Because you can look at it and say, man, as a player, man, this stinks. Like now I'm going back to Iowa. I'm going back to the AHL. And but at the same time, you look at it and what it's about. It's about being a player, and he's not getting the opportunity playing 7, 8, 9 minutes a night. And yeah, maybe he would be on the power play when he's in that spot. And I think we see him and everybody does, as a power play piece at some point. But if you don't have the confidence to make the plays, to do those things, if you're not touching the puck enough, it's hard to just jump out there and be impactful on the power play. So, man, part of your development's going back down to Iowa and getting used to playing with the puck and being in all situations, whether that's the power play, the kill, tight games, last minute, D-zone draw, O-zone draw. It'll be good for him, man. I don't think it's any pause for panic or any situation like that whatsoever. I think it'd be great.
He needed it, the body language. I mean, remember when he tipped the puck to Kirill and they scored the goal out of the air? And after doing that, which was a great play by all accounts, he was like, when they interviewed him, he was like, yeah, like he was basically like, about time I did something right.
Right.
So I mean,
he's feeling the pressure.
He was down, and this would be a good palate cleanser for him. Relax a little bit. Hopefully before we know it, we'll be doing rapid fire questions with him. Today we got to do it with the newest member of the Wild, Mr. Reaves.
Yeah.
Very fun interview. I think he's DMing Snoop Dogg. No spoilers, but that's just how that's
a pretty sweet feather in your cap.
That's just included in the interview.
Right.
But what a great guy, and he hung around and waited for us a little bit. It's a big day in St. Paul today with the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame nominations. Lamoureux sisters, Cash, the first para-athlete going in, Ryan Miller, and then the late Jim Johansson. Pretty special day for hockey and a busy day for the Wild on 7th Pod.
It was. And yeah, it was fun to chat. So this is a Wild podcast, and we focus on the Wild and a lot of that stuff. But it was kind of fun to just chat and hear some other people's stories and their paths and throughout it as well too. I wanted to dig into Ryan Miller a little bit more on Jesper, the goaltending and how to develop a guy and what it takes.
They seem kind of similar.
Yeah,
because Wallstedt's a serious dude too.
Yeah,
he's the guy like I let down my whole country when in the World Juniors, and Miller seems like a serious dude too. Yeah, he was trying to tell us he was fun, but usually when you're trying to tell someone you're fun,
I think he is fun. I think he just cares that much about hockey, right? And I think actually Marco Rossi might be similar to that, where he just cares so much about hockey, loves it so much, and wants to be good at it, efficient, help his team so much that every once in a while I need to hit that reset button. But speaking of that, let's check in on the play of Boldy, because if we're talking about beautiful babies, there's another one on the roster in Boldy. And what have you seen from him as of late?
I love Boldy. Yeah. So what number was Fiala last year? What was his jersey number?
Kevin Fiala's jersey number?
22, was he? Yeah. I actually think Boldy should change his number to 22 and just be like, I'm here to make you forget about Kevin Fiala forever. Okay, 'cause so people will say Fiala has 26 points. He's played 25 games.
Yeah.
They played a lot more games. Boldy's played 21 games. He's got 16 points. He's a streaky player. You know, he's going to pick them up in bunches. But I'm still confident in my bet. This is an 80-point guy, which is that is a tier of NHLer. If you're in that point per game, you know, that 80-point mark, that's significant. That is a building block for the future, and I do see him trending that way. I was interested. I saw Dean talking a lot about how Boldy plays his best when he keeps his feet moving.
Yeah.
Maybe you were talking about it on the broadcast, but
Yeah.
you know, and how when he tries to become this sort of swivel Kirill guy, he overthinks it a little bit. He's better when he's kind of playing at pace, and I think we've been seeing that the last few games. But yeah, big fan. I think he is. He's Robin, like we said. If I know that Zuki's obviously, you know, peanut butter and jelly with Kirill, but Boldy I think is that bona fide other star that you have.
This is what I think can happen, and getting into Boldy and Dean trying to encourage him to move his feet more. For me, I think that this happens sometimes. You have a successful power play, and a lot of times power play,
Stationary.
it's stationary, and you're head up and you're looking around, you're looking for these passes, and when you have success there, it just like naturally sinks into you that that's kind of how you're playing. You want to find some open ice. You want to kind of set yourself, look for the lanes, make your pass, and then hope it goes in the back of the net, right? And so, and if that's the case, that is fantastic that that's happening on the power play. But it can be a trap, and especially for a young player, to think that those two parts of the game go together. And I'm not saying that Boldy or any young player says, okay, the power play and 5-on-5 are the exact same. I just think that it bleeds over. Similar to puck touches. It's hard to be feeling good about your game if you're not touching the puck, making plays. And that's why power play guys, like, they love it. They get to feel it all the time. They're in that spot, and that translates into offense 5-on-5. Now, Boldy, so what I thought started to happen at times, and this is like subconscious, is that your feet stop moving and you look for open space, you find it, and then you post up and you're looking around. And that doesn't work 5-on-5. Everybody's more aggressive. There's back pressure, and you might be now focused on pulling up. So all of a sudden you're entering the offensive zone, and you're looking for a pull-up because you want to slow the game down. And I think Boldy actually has this skill, and it's a talent. Not a lot of guys have it. Anze Kopitar does. You talk about the Kings and what it's like, where they can slow the game down to their pace and the pace that they want it to be played at. It's
I like
elite.
how you're slowing your I thought it for a minute it was me.
Yeah.
But you were
It's
slowing
an
it.
audio product that we
That's
have
good.
here.
That's
Yeah.
good.
But Kopitar can do that, and I think Boldy has that. And if he had success in the American Hockey League and then got off to a great start in the National Hockey League, but you can revert to where you had success before and playing in that spot. And I think he has the talent to where he can slow down the American Hockey League game to any pace that he wants, right? The NHL all of a sudden is, you now have to be good at top pace to be able to slow it down to your pace. And that's where he's at in his growth right now, is making sure that everything's going north, that like if he's making plays to the net, he's also traveling towards the net, and just making sure in all those spots that he's moving his feet. And I also think it's very critical for a young player to move their feet without the puck. And I think at times he would get caught waiting, standing, looking for plays that were there, and moving his feet without the puck. I think we've started to see a pickup in that over the last couple of games too, and because of that, I think he's put a couple in.
And he's a big guy. You know, when you see him celebrating, he's just so much taller typically than the people that are around him. And he put on the weight this summer. He got a lot stronger. I think you're going to see him continue to do that. So that becomes a different type of animal if he's a big body and that high skilled point of game guy. So it's great.
If you were wanting to be bigger and stronger like that, one of the ways to do it is through nutrition and eating good quality
Sensible
foods.
snacks.
Yeah, sensible snacks like vegetables and dips. Where would you advise somebody like that to go?
I'm trying to think if I know any sensible snack companies. Yeah, you know what? Jimmy's Salad Dressings and Dips is a sponsor of the show. And so I'm sorry, I forgot that for a second, but I'm sure our listeners did not. And, that's a great point because they have 3 vegetable dips. They have the ranch, the spinach, and the dill. And those are great. Get a little plate. Now that, like, your wife's not doing Christmas cards, she could spend a lot of time doing holiday
Like
cookies.
a vegetable charcuterie
and
board?
then mix it in with a little vegetable charcuterie plate with the Jimmy's salad dressings and dips. Probably just the dips. It would be weird to put the salad dressings out. They also have Holy Smokes, which is a smoky dip. And I think if we were going to have a Holy Smokes moment right now, it'd probably be Kirill's Point Streak.
Right.
He is on a heater. He's an ox. You're going to hear Reaves talk about him, and just in terms of his strength, the 6'5" man that is not 6'5", but he's the Holy Smokes moment. Keep doing what you're doing, 97. And if you're at Cub Foods, please check out Jimmy's Salad Dressings and Dips. Don't you be messing with the dressing.
Nicely done.
Yeah, I mean,
how did you feel about it?
It was good.
I thought it was good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure other people are hearing that, and they're going to want some of that.
Yeah, holy smokes.
Are you going to go back to back?
I don't know. Did you set me up?
Yeah, so, one of the things, if I find myself...
John's a goal scorer. He's not like a setup guy. Like,
Cy
he's
Young.
got 0 primary assists.
Young
Maybe
Award
secondary if somehow he taps it, like gets a tip on it.
Sometimes after I score a goal and I'm doing press, I get a dry throat, and I feel that I need something to help me do the interview.
To
clench
rehydrate yourself, quench your thirst.
Yes.
And you probably wouldn't want any old beverage to do that, right? Some are better than others.
No tap.
And what's the best one? Probably like a crisp, clear, clean water.
Aquarius Home Systems is what I would choose.
Yeah, Aquarius Home Services, yeah, and their water treatment system. Yeah, absolutely. I use their Kinetico K5 system at the sink. I've got the water softener downstairs. It removes hardness, white scale buildup on dishes, showers, glasses, appliances. Remove bad taste and odors. I'm on a well, so that it does come with bad taste and odors, but not with my system at all. Removes orange rust, which I have a massive issue with that at my house. So we'll have the rink.
Ryan actually lives in Chernobyl.
It seems like it.
I'm sure you're going to live a long time.
We could go into this. This is true because there was a lead company in town that tainted the water of my neighborhood.
I don't see you getting. You're not going to live very old. I don't think.
No, I know, and that's why I have such a big.
We got to win the cup soon.
Yeah.
Because,
But I'm about to fill the rink up with the well water, and usually it would be blaze orange because of all the iron in it, but it's filtered out, so now we'll have a nice white sheet of water.
So you do skate on
the rink out back.
And it's an Aquarius product.
It's an Aquarius product.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. No, in all seriousness, I love it. The service is great. I have Derek over to treat the water all the time. They're just a great company to deal with from start to finish. Whether you need help with your electrical systems, plumbing systems, your furnace, HVAC, water, Aquarius Home Services does it all. They're just a click away. AquariusHomeservices.com. They're earning the right to be recommended.
So you think we should go to the Revo interview? I mean, the guy, he comes out hot. He's a pretty special character.
Well, it's a high-level show. I don't think we can make a wait.
Let's go. These interviews are sponsored by Duke Cannon, as you can see. If you're looking for that special holiday gift, that giant bar of soap that you can either put in your kid's mouth if they swear or use it in the shower, they have it both available at dukecannon.com or Target.
Did you used to get soaped out as a kid? I would.
I definitely did.
With the bar soap?
Oh, yeah. Dove, the worst tasting soap.
It was only my mother. My dad would actually spank me, but my mother would use the bar soap, and it would be up the top of the mouth and then pull it out. So
you got to scrape the teeth.
You'd have like the
you got to get the residual, stick it in there so it lasts a little longer.
A little soap retainer. The wife did it to our son, and then he vomited right after. So it was sort
That's
of
the best play from this. Like if you're a kid,
you're
a kid listening to this, if you get soaped, throw up, they'll stop.
Yeah, and then I think after he threw up,
mine didn't.
After he threw up, she put it in her own mouth to kind of see, but who knows?
Yeah. Well, so newest member of the Wild. I mean, I've played against you. I know a lot about you, but at the same time, don't know much about you. We should get into rapid fire and warm them up a little bit. But before we do that, so New York trade, How's that go down? Like you get a call from Billy, or do you get a call from that GM, and then boom, you're on a flight here?
Yeah, I mean, you want the long story or the short?
We got time.
Yeah. So yeah, I was in the lineup for a little bit, and my wife actually sent me an article saying that New York was looking to dump my salary. So I just approached the GM and says, "Any truth behind this?" And he's like, "Well, no." We kind of went back and forth. I said, "Listen, am I going to play, or I'm getting older. I want to get a contract next year. I'm not going to get one if I'm not playing."
Right.
And he said, "Yeah, well." There's a little back and forth, and then so we came to the decision, okay, well, if I'm not going to play, I got to get out of here. And basically the next morning I got a call from Billy, and here I am.
Wow. And then next thing you know, you're on a flight and you're landing. I mean, we were here when you got into town and practice game, boom, just that fast.
Real quick, yeah. Hadn't played in 2 weeks, so that was right on the third line against the top lines. That was fun chasing Matthews around.
Yeah, baptism by fire, I suppose, in that situation. But I mean, it's easy for you. That line, I think, if we look at what they were, building in terms of that, like a nice checking line, but that line can score too, and I think that kind of epitomizes your game. Like, you like to play a physical role, but at the same time, like, you have skills and you can play. So like,
I do appreciate you saying that.
You happy to be in that spot. I mean, you watch in practice. I mean, you can shoot, you can make these plays and stuff, right? And that's the hard part, because I mean, you don't get me wrong, I'm nowhere near your level, but I had to fight too, and everybody instantly thinks that all of a sudden this guy's hands are just stone, so you kind of have to break that mold.
They are still stone, but yeah, I got a little touch in them.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, what do you think about the situation? I mean, Minnesota, were you excited about coming to this spot, and what do you know of the team?
Yeah, I'm really excited. I couple was it 2 years ago, really hard playoff series.
Yeah.
Obviously, really fun series. Going to Game 7. I like this team. There's skill up front. There's obviously some heavy bodies that I like to play with. Good D, man. It's just it's a well-rounded team that is on the up, and I'm really excited to be here.
I'd love to hear. So that Vegas series, when we had Garen on a while back, he almost views that playoff series with you guys 2 years ago as what he wants. He almost kind of flushes the St. Louis series we had last year. Going from that, going against the Wild 2 years ago, and now being in the room with the guys on the other side, what's been the biggest surprise? Like, what do you remember hating or liking about the Wild 2 years ago, and now what's it like when you're really in there?
I never really hated anything about the Wild. I like their game. They play heavy, and I like being in those games. I don't really like getting into the big skill games, just kind of chasing the puck up and down the ice. I like it to be heavy, I like it to be physical. So, I loved playing against them, and I like the style they play. Coming here, I really like our systems. Getting out of the zone quick and hunting D is right up my alley. So, I think it's going to be a good fit.
Do we have rapid fire up?
Yeah, we're ready.
Let's get to know them.
All right, so this is rapid fire. This is like just kind of let your soul just get loose a little bit. Let's just come on, let's go. So these are quick. Just nickname.
Revo, Grim Reaver.
Grim Reaver.
Ooh, that's strong. Weirdest thing in your overnight bag.
Probably shoe cleaner. What
do you listen to in the car?
Strictly hip hop. And a little bit of Mariah because it is the season. But
oh yeah, sweet sounds.
Yeah,
it's your birthday. Where are you going to dinner?
Probably at home. Probably stay home. It's nice steakhouse. Yeah, probably nice steakhouse.
You have a green light in any NHL city. Where are you picking?
Vegas.
Hockey jersey you had as a kid?
Joe Sakic.
Pre-game meal?
Just the most obnoxious size spaghetti.
Go-to drink at the bar?
Depending on what I'm doing. Either tequila water, tequila soda, or beer.
Strong. Perfect weekend. What are you doing?
Oh, right now, probably golfing with the son and then getting back into the pool.
Hidden talent?
Hidden talent. Oof. Brew a nice beer.
Yeah, wow. I've heard. We'll get into that. Gift card from any store.
Oh man, I don't do a lot of shopping. I'll be honest. It's all online. My wife does most of the shopping.
Last thing you binge watched.
Game of Thrones.
Buying clothes, where do you go? I guess you don't shop, but
Online, yeah. Nordstrom, I guess.
favorite holiday?
Christmas.
Who plays you in the movie?
Denzel.
Nice.
Every time. Every time.
Who do you text the most?
Who do I text the most? My brother.
Pet peeve?
Wrinkled shirts. I iron everything on the road. And it's funny because like I got guys coming into my room sometimes and they'll just be hanging out and they'll be like, what is this? Like, well, it's an iron. He's like, you know how to iron? It's like, you turn it on, you just put it on the shirt. I had Lafreniere last year asked me if I brought the ironing board and the iron with me in my bag. Does this look like it fits like in my bag?
Yeah, we were just thinking an overnight bag and iron and an ironing board. It's a big bag.
Yeah.
You have your own Netflix accounts?
I do.
Okay, good. We get a lot of the young guys on, and they're still on mom and dad's Netflix accounts.
No, my mom's actually on mine.
Okay, great. Yeah, so at some point
He's a
it flips.
giver.
I'm a grown up now. Yeah.
You buy the more screens, and then you just let everybody on it. That's a new flex right now. So shoe cleaner. You're not a shopper, but obviously you're into style. So shoe cleaner to make sure the shoes are looking good.
Yeah, so I got a big Jordan collection. I got into Jordans a couple years ago, and with the ironing of the shirts comes the cleanliness of my shoes. And so if they're scuffed up, I got a nice shoe cleaner and a brush that I carry around with me.
I'm curious now because a lot of Jordans they're white. So is the shoe cleaner? I always picture shoe cleaner like a dark thing.
No, it's like a clear liquid, and you just put it in water. You suds it up a little bit, and you scrub it, and then wipe it off with a cloth.
So big collection. How many sets?
I think I'm up to 30 right now, but I just started a couple years ago. I also have very big feet, so it's hard to find my size. That's always a problem.
So I was downstairs, and Tony DeCosta, the equipment guy, yesterday was getting your gear out, and he's like, "You got to see this skate," and he was getting you a new set of skates. And you're not kidding, they're huge. I have the boots on right now, and I could almost fit my boot inside of.
What size are your feet?
14 and a half. I squeeze into a 14 though, because they don't make the half sizes that big.
Jeez. Yeah. So although you probably have first crack at some of the best Jordans on that size.
Yeah, but they don't make them in that size all the time. Funny story in junior. I used to wear grafts. Back in the day, the grafts were very padded, so they were almost like a couple sizes bigger. Right. I couldn't find a pair in Winnipeg, and I was drafted by the Wee Kings. The GM ordered me a pair, and it came in 2 boxes because they couldn't fit it in one. And the GM tells the story all the time to everybody now.
Well, so I got to thinking on that one. I was like, no wonder this guy's so strong on his skates.
I thought you were going to say slow.
his steel is like, it's almost like a speed skater's blade on the ice, right? But no, I mean, that was impressive. So what's your favorite pair? Like, what's the color pattern on your favorite pair of Jordans?
I got a pair. I can't remember what they're called. Actually, I got a couple, but there's one that has orange, a baby blue orange check, a little bit of baby blue, black, and tan. Those are my favorite pair right now.
Nice.
Yeah.
I've got one pair of Jordans.
You got to get some more.
Buddy gave me a pair, but they were custom. So it's like gator is the color part.
Yeah.
So the swoosh and everything is green gator, but yeah, they're awesome.
I got to get eyes on those.
Yeah. We'll get you a look at them. What do you got, Kinger?
So Garen calls you. I'd be curious, what was Billy like on the phone? I think that's a high compliment, having been bounced by you in the playoffs 2 years later, and he knows you're looking for a spot to play more, and he wants you. What was the conversation with Billy like? I picture him being a Revo guy.
Yeah, it was pretty friendly. I obviously played in Pittsburgh when he was there, and I don't know. We were always very friendly. Joked around a lot. Obviously, it's got to be a little more professional now, but. He called me, and I think he threw a little dig at me to start it off. And
what did he say?
I can't remember. Oh, I think I said, "Hey, Billy G," and he said, "No, you're calling me boss now." And then there's some other little dig in there, and then he said, "Yeah, you excited to come down?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely." So it was a quick conversation, but I'm a big fan of him. I think he's obviously he's an ex-player that gets it. I'm excited to play for him.
He's the best. So last year we were watching the team getting ready for the playoffs, and we were calling them the 7th Street Savages because we were playing heavy. We had some guys that could drop the gloves, and When you look at the team now, that style you like playing, that heavy game, it seems like it translates really well to the playoffs. What do you think about the pieces we have in terms of toughness?
Really good. I mean, I'll be honest. It's a smaller team than I thought. For how heavy you think this team plays, it's a smaller team than I thought. But yeah, there's you look at Moose, you look at Greenway. Those guys can play really heavy. Eriksson Ek plays really heavy. Dums can play heavy when he wants to. So you have those pieces there, and then you have obviously some pretty talented guys. Kaprizov is just on a different level. I obviously don't see him in practice until the last couple of days, but yeah, he's a special player for sure.
Yeah, what do you make of him? You've seen some great players. You've been around him in Pittsburgh, everywhere else. What with the beautiful Russian boy? What do you see?
It's funny. The first time I saw him play on TV, just guys were leaning on him, and he was brushing them off like it's nothing. And so when I saw that, I thought this guy was like 6'5", and then we came and played you guys in the playoffs. I was like, man, you're just like a little guy, but he's jacked though. Like he's strong. He's strong on his skates. He's a special talent for sure.
Yeah, he competes hard too.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He likes to get in there.
And that was the other thing. Coming from Russia, obviously, to North America into your first playoff series, you would think you'd be a little more shy of the physical play, but that series he was in the mix all the time. And I remember after the first couple of games, like, man, this guy's. I thought we were gonna be able to push him out. You can't push this guy out. Like he thrives on that kind of play. It looks like.
Well, I think that's actually one of the reasons why Vegas had the upper hand in the end was that Kaprizov was so adamant about proving he can win these battles that he ended up, getting onto the exterior, being on the wall, winning all these battles, and then they struggled in the middle of the ice where he also thrives. But I'm curious, are there any parallels? Because you. Coming from New York, you've got Panarin, highly skilled Russian guy too. Like, do you see similarities in their games at all, or entirely different players?
I see similarities in their, their skill. Obviously, both of them are very, very highly skilled. See the ice very well. I think the difference to me is Bread seems to find open space without getting touched, where Kaprizov will get in there. He can, lean on somebody and spin right off right away. A little better on his edges, I think. Brett just seems to be able to find open space and make one move and nobody's around him anymore.
Right.
I think Kirill is more in the mix than and then kind of getting dirty and then finding that open space.
Entering a new room can be challenging, and I think you touched on it at one point too. I heard a quote from you, that you're an energy guy and you like to have a presence there. What is that like having that role and entering a new room?
Usually I come in and I chirp a couple guys, and then the first couple of days I just kind of sit back and see, where, walking out of the dressing room onto the ice. You gotta find your spot there.
Where your role, yeah.
My whole career I've been the first guy on the ice, and somebody told me to take. I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. If somebody has been doing that, for the last year, so you still gotta find. You don't want to step on anybody's toes, but at the same time, I'm still going to be an energy guy. I'm still going to be yelling. I'm still going to be chirping. But it takes a couple days.
Does it help to have somebody like maybe Flower, who's leading the guys on the ice, says to whomever's behind him, "Hey, this is usually Reaves' spot." Just so
no. I don't even want it. Like I think I've been lucky in my career. When I was in St. Louis, I was second until Backus left, or until maybe Oshie left, or both of them, and then I was first for the next couple of years. Pittsburgh, I wasn't. Vegas, they just put me up there right away. And then New York, I think it was Lemieux was first, but then he left in the off season. So then when I came, nobody was just going first anymore. So I went. I'm fine.
Do you have any other superstitions? Like, not that that's.
I have zero superstitions. No, I'm not a superstitious guy.
Why not? You see them all over the place. Is it purposefully that you're not, or just that's?
Yeah, I just feel like I have routines that I do, but those routines get broken very often. I feel like it's just too stressful to be superstitious about stuff. It's just, I don't know. I couldn't imagine being a goalie.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I always say to people too, like with the superstitions, it's like what I found is it's actually a negative thing because then they only get broken and then that leads to negative thoughts instead of positive outcomes. So it's like actually have to break these routines to learn that it's comfortable in, the chaos, so to speak, a little bit.
Like I used to eat steak before every single game, and then I had a bad game, and I don't know what it was. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna have burger and fries today, and then I scored, and I was like, all right, burger and fries for the next 3 weeks or whatever. And then I was like, all right, maybe I gotta cut back on the fries before games, and then little things like that. But I try not to overthink too much.
So you played in you played in Vegas, you played in New York. I mean, those are some pretty iconic places to play, and you were there in the beginning, really, on the Vegas side. What was great about those cities, playing in those markets and walking into Manhattan after a game, all of that? What were some of the highlights for you?
Vegas was cool because obviously the first professional sports team there, and it was built there. So the city really rallied around it, and the whole city just seemed to be about the Knights. You just drive around, every license plate, everybody has a decal, businesses, Vegas Golden Knights stuff. And you wouldn't think it because you're in the middle of the desert. I remember I got traded there, and I was on the Strip eating dinner by myself, and 3 people tried paying for my meal. I was like, how do you know who I am? Like, we're in Vegas on the Strip. Like, how would you know that? But yeah, it was just really cool to see how quickly that city came around that team. And then just the show of being down there, like it's a hockey game mixed with a Broadway show. That's what Vegas is.
So that's your green light of choice. I'm a big Vegas guy too. I just went out there, did like the Golden Steer, the ATV ride to the Pioneer.
And it's funny, I used to hate Vegas.
So what's your program? Like if you were like, hey, somebody says that they're not a Vegas person, you're like, you come with me. You're gonna be. Where are we going? What?
So I wasn't a Vegas guy because I would. At the end of the year, we'd go with St. Louis, and there would be a vote to where you wanted to go at the end of the year, and I would always go Miami. I used to be a big Miami fan. Every time I went to Vegas, I'd leave, I'd be hungover, I'd just be like, no money in my pockets, and it's like, all right, just get me out of here.
Just get smoked by Vegas.
And then I get traded there, and the team service guy picks me up, and we're driving, and I don't even know where he's driving me to. Like, we're off the Strip by 30 minutes, and I was like, what are we staying, Scottsdale? Like, I didn't know there was anything outside of the Strip, like most people do.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know Vegas was surrounded by mountains till I lived there. You would never know that. It's just a whole different world outside the Strip there.
Do you have favorite spots? Favorite golf course? Like, if you were designing a guy's trip, where are we hitting?
Depends how good the golfers are. I'm not a great golfer. I just started during quarantine. There are some really, like I golfed at Shadow Creek, but it whooped me up and spit me out. Like it was bad. I was chasing balls into everywhere. There's one right by my house. It's called Bears Best. Really nice course.
That's where we played.
Yeah.
Where do you like to eat there? You have a steakhouse since you used to do steak before every meal. Were you?
No. I make the meanest steak.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah. I perfected the steak on
What's your program? Break it down for us.
A little butter in a cast iron skillet.
Okay.
Season a lot of pink Himalayan salt and pepper. That's it.
Yeah.
2 minutes on one side, minute and a half on the other side. Put some rosemary and thyme on top.
Yeah.
Throw it in the oven at 350 until it hits 121. Take it out. Let it sit on a.
You're not superstitious.
He's precise.
No, that's not superstitious.
He's precise.
He's a pro. That's just a
pro.
program.
That's just being good.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So you're searing it.
121.
You're searing it,
and
then cooking it.
And then in the oven till 121, and then while it sits, it gets up to about 138, which is right under medium.
That's just a segment that we should just have Revo steak.
Cook
Now we have
Revo.
to do it. Cook it downstairs. They got a nice kitchen down there.
It is nice down there, yeah.
It is nice.
Nice facility here.
Yeah. I want to geek out before we get into some other stuff because I loved as a visitor going into Madison Square Garden. I don't know where you, as a home player, park, but I think the cars are right down there. Then you walk up the ramp, the ramp up to the arena.
So we actually park in a parking garage right across the street, and then they bring the cars over. So you probably just saw them once they brought them over or after they, yeah.
But I always love that because it's like you're on Broadway, you're like outside, and then you just walked up the tunnel, and all of a sudden, like you're playing at Madison Square Garden. You wrap up the game, then you walk back down the tunnel, and then it's like you get lost in the city again. You know what I mean? Like it's just so awesome.
Yeah, again, another city that I never really liked. I don't like really big cities. The hecticness of downtown is not really for me. But yeah, it's really cool. Just we stay in a hotel right across the street on game days, so we take a pregame nap there, and just kind of walking through the crowd is like you feel like you're in the mix of New York, and then obviously Madison Square Garden, a lot of history there. You can feel history in that place. It's a fun building to play in.
Yeah, and so I mean, the energy there. Do you think there's like a home ice advantage? The energy at that building, or like coming in as a visitor, it was tough.
As long as you get out to a good start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the fans can turn on you quick there.
I wouldn't say they turn on you. They just, I wouldn't say they turn on you.
Just they know hockey well enough and they have high expectation.
Yeah.
That's how I think Montreal is too. Like if the visitor goes into Montreal and has a good first 10 minutes, the fans are, they're like, hey, come on, guys. They'll get after their team pretty quick. And I think Ranger fans are similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, no question. So the facilities here, the training center we talked about, like downstairs, nice here, isn't it?
Really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do they have that in New York, Vegas, or practice facilities? All nice setup.
Yeah, both are really nice. Obviously, Vegas is brand new. Yeah, really nice there, and the one in Tarrytown in New York is really nice too. It's actually shared with the Knicks facility, so it's a rink, a basketball court. Pretty sure they have a pool in there. Haven't seen that yet though.
Yeah. So let's get back to your game quick. Growing up, like when did being tough become a part of your game?
Oh man, probably after my first year in the minors. So, junior, I always played really physical, but in junior I played, second, third line, with some skill guys where I'd run around, create space for them, they go and score, I think I only had 14 fights in 3 years in junior. And then my first year in the AHL, I had a couple fights, but I wasn't looking for it. It was like if something happened, okay,
right.
If I really have to. And then Davis Payne was the assistant, or was the head coach in Peoria, or was about to be the head coach in Peoria, and probably next in line to be the head coach in St. Louis. And he sat me down at the end of the year and he said, look, you want to make the NHL, you're going to have to start fighting. You're going to have to start sticking up for teammates. You're going to have to start creating energy. I said, all right, well, if you want me to fight, then I went back home to Winnipeg and I took boxing lessons all summer. And I came back and I asked everything that moved to fight. And that was the beginning of it. My first square off that next year, I broke the guy's nose and he cut me open pretty well because I was working on a left jab. Well, I forgot to bring the left back, so I caught him, but he grabbed me and hit me pretty hard after that. So we learned a lesson there. And then I don't think I really understood how tough I was until I fought Brian McGrattan, because that was my first true heavyweight square off. And I cut him open, I conkied him, and I probably had a conky after too. I didn't feel great after, but I just remember I watched the replay and. He was hitting me with a lot of little rabbit punches that, didn't feel great, but I caught him with some pretty big ones. And then, he didn't play for a while after that. And that was the first time I was like, oh man, I went toe to toe with one of the toughest in the league.
So what year would that have been? Like 2008-ish maybe?
No, that was I was still in the minors then. 2012 or 13.
Like the big heavies like Bugard and some of these guys, they started to phase out, I think, about 2000.
After the lockout, basically.
Yeah, 12-ish.
So McGrattan lasted, Peros lasted a couple more years. There was still a few. And I think it was it had to have been after the lockout. Maybe it was the lockout year that I fought him in Nashville. And, that was...
Nowadays, I mean, when I gotta imagine you don't get too many takers.
No,
or asked. Do you ever get asked?
That's a special.
Yeah, once in a while. But it's like Turk in New York. He didn't really like the just square off for no reason. Nothing happened in the game. Let's just fight for no reason. He didn't really like that. So I've had a couple guys just like ask me off opening draws. Let's go. And I was like, go run somebody, or let me go run somebody, and then we'll go. You know what I mean? But yeah, not Not a ton anymore, no.
Yeah.
I think I only had 3 last year.
Yeah.
I'm at 2 right now, so we might be able to beat that.
2 majors?
I got 2 fights, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So 3 total last year.
Yeah.
Wow, that's kind of amazing to me. But again, there's not that many takers. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't want to fight you. I mean, I'm watching my mic right now. Every time you move your hand, my mic goes like this. Like, let's see those things.
Yeah, I got big mitts. Yeah, those are big.
You palm a basketball?
I
I think probably with ease, right?
Yeah.
So Marcus, we just had Marcus on the podcast, and he disconnected my wires, and he has big hands. I think those would put his to shame. So I certainly wouldn't ask you in that spot, no question.
Have you guys talked about the photo?
Yeah, we have.
I mean, because so I was very upset. It's a Minnesota photographer that took that. I'm like, dude, you just swallowed the chew spit on that. You just bury that. Delete. No, he's got his moment. I don't remember his name. We talked about. Thank you very much. Opening night celebration for the Wild. What was this exchange with Marcus?
Well, so I told him, I was like, man, you cost me a little bit of money. So funny story. Snoop Dogg DM'd me right after that, and he's like, hey, I want to print some T-shirts with you. I was like, yeah, no problem. And then come to find out, I can't get that picture off of that photographer because of who he works for and the deal with NHL. So we were trying to recreate it. So we had it recreated, and we were going to get it going. And then I got traded here, and I called Snoop's team. I was like, hey, I don't think I can do my boy like that. So I went up to Moose. I was like, hey, it cost me a little bit of cash here.
We're going to make a T-shirt.
Yeah.
These are going to be all over.
Yeah, no more, though. I can't do him like that.
Funny. So big hip-hop guy. Who you got? The T-shirt here?
Right now. Yeah, he sent me a couple shirts. He was a favorite when I was growing up.
Yeah.
I'm old, so like I like the old school hip hop.
What's the birth year?
87.
87. So
What's your like?
Wow.
Old
in
now.
NHL terms, yeah.
Who are your top go-tos hip hop, old and new?
So Snoop, Biggie, Pac, J. Cole. Those are probably my.
That's your core.
Yeah, that's my core right there. I like old 50. I actually like. I don't mind some new 50 either. I don't really like new hip hop.
None of it.
Not none of it, but just a song here and there. I don't know. Just this mumble rap. It just drives me crazy. I don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Yeah. Who's got the aux cord in the room for the? I mean, you're gonna change the mix of music at all, or
No, they play good music here.
Who runs the show?
Dums. Usually
Is it?
Dums and Ecker, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah,
What's the mix now? What are
The
they?
Swedish House Mafia with a little hip hop.
Yeah, it's nice hip hop down there.
Yeah.
It was. Again, I'm not coming in to change what they've been listening to for all the season. I can't do that.
Are you an NFL fan?
Big NFL fan.
Or do you follow the Vikings at all?
No.
Okay, so Kirk Cousins is the quarterback here.
Well, yeah, I know that.
And Kirk in chains. I don't know if you saw any of that on
Yeah.
social. Kirk in chains, shirtless on the airplane.
Yeah.
Well, the Wild had a lot of magic last year, and we think the Vikings stole it, and it's in their chains. So it's good to see that you're sporting some chains there. Do you have a nice collection at home? Because we're going to have to encourage you to continue to wear those.
I only have 2. I got a plain gold necklace, and then I got this one.
Well, keep wearing them because we have a theory here on the podcast. We'll have to show you a photo. Kirk's chains were stolen. We brought them back this side of the river, so the mojo's back in Minnesota. So continue with the hip hop and the chains because we're big fans of that stuff.
What can you tell us about 75 Brewing? We know you do a killer
75 Brewing.
75 Brewing. You do a killer steak. Like, talk to us about your the liquid form of Mr. Reaves.
Yeah, so I had a beer in St. Louis for a summer, and the guy he approached me. He said, "Hey, I want to sell a beer under your name." I said, "Sure." We made a recipe, and he was doing really well. And then I got traded to Pittsburgh, traded to Vegas, and then I get to Vegas, and there's not a big craft scene there. And so when I re-signed, I was sitting at the table, and my mom, my brother, my wife, they've been telling me to do something with the name Grim Reaver, like clothes or whatever. And one day my wife's just like, why don't you just start a beer company? And it's like, you know what? Yeah, all right, let's do it. And I got on the phone. My buddy used to work for Labatt Brewing up in Canada. I said, let's go to Vegas and try and start a beer company. He flew down, and he actually wasn't going to join the company. He was just going to go for some meetings. And we went down there for 3 days, came back. He called me when he landed, and he's like, you know what? I think you got something here. I'll join your team. And that was in August. December, we had our first beer out, and we have 5 beers right now.
Nice. Can you buy them here? Or
No, you can only buy them in Vegas right now.
we got to get them here.
You know what? if I had a longer contract, I would, but like just getting the licensing and finding somewhere to brew. So right now we contract brew, so we pay a brewery to brew it all for us. So to find a brewery here to do the licensing, it would take a while. And then, if for some reason I don't re-sign here, it would be kind of a waste of time.
What if we get?
We'll send a plane.
Yeah. What if we get somebody to drive a big U-Haul down there and just load it up?
That's a different story. That's a different story.
We should do that.
I brought a ton to New York last 2 years ago. It's a big hit.
What's the top seller? Like which beer?
The first one we launched, our golden ale called Training Day. That one seems to be pretty popular.
Denzel.
Yeah,
He's coming back.
See, I told you, that's my guy. And then we have, obviously our lager does well because it's hot there. That one's called Dawnbreaker. Got an IPA called Shiver Giver. We have an exclusive with MGM. It's a blonde ale called Showtime. And then we have Grim Reaver Stout.
Dude, I love those names, man.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah, we got to do like a Smokey the Bandit run and go get a bunch of beer
Hey,
and bring
no
it back
doubt.
for people.
We'll put them right next to the Buchanan.
That's right.
Another
That's
shout out
right. I
Buchanan.
like that. I was looking at your penalty minutes, right? And so you haven't been over 100 since 16, 17, probably because no one will fight you anymore.
Yeah.
What's the peak of your game like dialed, with regular skates, regular shift, physicality? If you were just saying, what would you be a over 100 PIM guy, in a season, or does that not even matter anymore because of your status?
Yeah, I think as the game's changed, what I've really focused on is not taking minors a lot. I think back in the day there was a lot of pushing and shoving, taking coincidentals, scrums in front of the net where I'd get penalties, couple tens, obviously a lot more fights. Now I'm just, get your PIMs in the fights, and obviously there's going to be a couple minors here and there, but I've really prided myself on not taking a lot of minors lately, and I think that's why the minutes have gone down, and obviously not a lot of takers.
Yeah, I can't imagine. What else do you have, Kurtz?
Well, basically, let's just touch on the ink before we let you go.
Yeah.
How many tattoos and
Well,
do you have a favorite?
do I have a favorite? I think the one on my back, actually. It's like a timepiece, kind of. It's a big girl holding one of those, what do you call it, with the sand goes in.
Hourglass.
There you go, yeah. So everything except for my arm. This is a Grim Reaver.
I like that.
that
That's
and
when
my
I saw CCM over there.
Yeah. So that and my back are all done from DJ Tamby. So Ink Master, the show.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So he was always my favorite on that show. And then I got traded to Vegas, and his wife DM'd me. He said, "Hey, my husband wants to ink you up." I was like, "Who's your husband?" He's like, "DJ Tamby." I said, "I'll be there tomorrow, no problem."
See you soon.
Yeah, so he did that one in my back, and then everything else. So I have my whole chest done. This whole sleeve is done by a guy that used to live in Winnipeg, but he's in San Diego now.
Cool, man. Well, I tell you what, that's all I got, man. I appreciate you stopping up, Kinger.
Anytime.
Yeah, welcome to Minnesota.
Thank you.
We're thrilled
Glad to
you're
be here.
Yeah, we're gonna love it. I think you'll enjoy it too, man. But appreciate your time.
Yeah, you know where to get some Timberlands around here?
Some Timberlands.
I need some boots.
We can hook you up with some boots.
Yeah, I got to get some boots. I got to go today.
Yeah, yesterday was a tough one
Yeah.
with the snow. Do you have any Minnesota observations so far? You haven't been here that long, but
It's as cold as Winnipeg. Yeah. And that's why I don't go back to Winnipeg. So my wardrobe is not really ready for this. I do luckily, it's weird. The guy, owner in Vegas, gave us all Canada Goose jackets for Vegas. I think he's a part owner in it. So
okay.
Luckily, 5 years later, it's going to come in handy. But
You're happy
You
having
had to hold on to that thing for a while.
I've been lugging it around, so it came in handy today. But yeah, it's a little chilly. I left for 2 days, and it was nice 2 days ago, and I come back and there's snow everywhere.
Well, that's what they say about Minnesota. You don't like the weather, wait 10 minutes, it'll change.
I guess so.
All right, man. Have a good day. Thanks.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, guys.
Well, he's a beauty, right? He comes in, he's got the Snoop shirt, the Canada Goose jacket, which apparently they give away in Vegas because that's a normal thing. But what did you think of Mr. Reaves? You knew him before.
Well, I didn't know him. I've played against him, and I knew he's an intimidating guy. I'm surprised, like he gets it too, like smart, like understanding like how to enter a new room and fit in with guys. Like I was impressed with him, but again, like a dude that brews his own beer. That's pretty sweet.
We got to get that steak recipe on the
Your next guy's
the
trip,
socials.
can it be a one-way flight to Vegas and then you just U-haul it back with a truck full of?
Yeah, we do need to bring the 7.5 brew back, all the different flavors. I think that should be something that we try.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'd love it, but again, I love the names that he came up with on those. But entertaining guy for sure. I think he's going to fit in well here. Bringing back the 7th Street Savages, Bill Guerin. I think he felt the team needed a spark, and we'll have to get into some other stuff and other reports out there.
Yeah.
But felt the team needed a spark. And I think you look at this one, it's interesting. He didn't have to give up a lot to get Ryan Reaves. And will he provide the spark that the Wild need? And I mean, right now I think we've seen that they're being a little bit more confident, playing a little bit bigger. Also interesting that he said that for as heavy as this club plays, like they're not that big of a club. I found that interesting. With him in the lineup, all of a sudden they are that big of a club.
Well, him saying that is sort of like, okay. I mean, you see his hands.
Yeah.
His size 14 and a half shoes. I mean, so I don't know what big would look like. We have these giant bars of soap. He has to be like, really? They're giant? But yeah, no, he's definitely going to bring an excitement to the squad. I wanted to, I was looking at this is, I think, what you're getting at with the rumors out there about maybe adding a piece. Looking at our scoring, right? We get a ton out of 97, 27 points in 21 games. Zuki and him are a pair. You're getting point a game from Zuki. Eck is just a completely.
He's back.
He's just a useful MVP type player, unsung hero. And then Boldy, he cooled off for a little bit there, but he also kind of gets. It never feels like they're looking out for Boldy's line. It's never like, hey, we're going to put you with these, we have names for the fear line already, right? Like Boldy's just like, you're good, figure it out. Here's some new guys to play with. But there's really only 4 guys up in that 16 plus points, right? Addison gets a ton of assists on the power play, but even he's down at 11. The thing I think we're missing, without Foligno being up there right now and Hartman, some of which is due to injuries, we definitely need another forward.
Yeah, and I think that is the report that they're looking to bolster their top 6. And yeah, and I do think that they're looking for somebody to probably play alongside of Boldy, right? And
yeah,
I mean, don't get me wrong, we talked about this too, but the resurrection of Sam Steele from a prospect, high talent in Anaheim to, 4th, 5th day free agency, 4th line guy, 3rd line guy, now up to the 1st line playing with Kirill and those guys. That's been fantastic. But that really came together because what the coaching staff wanted to do was give Boldy somebody to play with and somebody that he's comfortable with, and that was Freddie Gaudreau. So it was less Steele, well, I shouldn't say less, but partly Steele going up to play with those guys because they need somebody to play with Kirill and Zuccarello, and some of it was Gaudreau playing with Boldy, right? So now I think that they're looking at how do we round this out, and what does that look like? Is that going to be somebody in the middle?
Do you think they move guys to do that? So is somebody traded, or do we have enough cash to grab somebody that's in the? Do we have top 6 money even?
Well, I think that depends on who you try to go get. You can find top 6 talent that is cheaper, but they're usually younger, and then that's more expensive, if that makes sense, right?
Down the
and then
line.
all of a sudden, if you're looking for like a top 6 talent that somebody's looking to get off of their books, that's usually a slightly more expensive contract, right? And who knows what they're looking for there, but I think they'd probably realistically be looking for some type of right shot scorer, maybe, and maybe a centerman. Maybe, those are the 2 options that they'd like. I think the left side is pretty well dialed. You've got Boldy and Kaprizov, and then, then where are you looking for your depth piece? Is that in the middle? Is that on the right? And I think that's where they've circled the spot, and that might be on the right side with Boldy and Gaudreau or somewhere in that situation. But I think that's what that has come down to. And I think the Wild last year were a good 1-2 punch team with Kevin Fiala, and it's been more this year. And I think this brings part of the reason why they brought in Ryan Reaves is they've turned into more of a like Kirill Kaprizov is the punch, and where's the second punch? At least consistently, where's that second punch? And it hasn't been there. And so, Reaves' job is to make sure that Kirill has plenty of room out there, and that anybody that wants to get a little too physical, and Reaves talked about it, he appreciates the physical nature and style of play that Kirill wants to play, but he also recognizes that I don't want him playing like that. And intriguing, you could look at it this way. His part with Panarin and Kaprizov, is one of those more out of need or more out of
maturity?
Well, that, or like does Kirill have to fight off all this traffic because he doesn't have a guy like Ryan Reaves in the lineup? Is Breadman that much more talented at making a singular move to create space, or does he just naturally get a little bit more leeway because they have Ryan Reaves or a second punch? Like, they have two good lines. It's Zibanejad, it's somebody else, right? So does the Breadman get more room and not have to play as physical grinding a game because he doesn't get as much attention? That will be Reaves' job, right? And the Wild are looking for that number two punch, that Zibanejad or whomever it might be, to equally say, all right, well, we can't focus all of our attention on 97 because then we're going to get beat by whomever it might be. And yes, the hope is that that's Boldy and somebody that they place him with.
So we just went through Thanksgiving, and we're just outside of the playoff picture. We've played less games than a lot of teams that are above us. What do you think a well check on the team is right now? Seems like we got these two more games at home with Connor McGregor, McDavid coming into town.
You're in fight mode after the Reaves interview. You're in fight mode, Connor McGregor.
McGregor shaved his beard, and he's all over social, and it's just freaking me out how weird he looks without the beard. So that's my own personal baggage in there.
Freudian slip.
And then the Ducks on Saturday. You know, two more wins and your tarp's coming off. I don't know if you remember that bet.
What did we settle on?
8 points, which was like impossible, by the way. 8 out of 5 games. So you kind of took the chicken way there, because you'd have to win 4.
It's a 7-game homestand.
But we were already played 2 by the time we made the bet.
All right.
Because we beat Winnipeg, lost to Toronto, beat Arizona. They now need to beat both Edmonton and Anaheim. But, it feels like we're kind of like middling, right?
What?
Like we're kind of mid.
What I think is that the beginning of the year, the schedule was taxing, and they're starting to catch up now. They're starting to get their breath a little bit and momentum, find themselves their game. They're starting to get back to health. Yes, they're still without Hartman, Duhaime's now out. But it just feels like Eriksson Ek is starting to look more like Eriksson Ek. Marcus Foligno is starting to look like more like Marcus Foligno. Brodin just recently hurt. We don't know what that's going to look like. He was out with illness. It was out of practice yesterday. Hopefully he's playing, but he was starting to look more like the Brodin that we've been accustomed to. So I think the schedule was hard early on, and they're starting to catch their breath, and I think that they'd start to find some momentum and then slingshot themselves into a spot where they're more comfortable than being a bubble team at Thanksgiving. I think of the 16 teams that made the playoffs last year, 12 of them were in at Thanksgiving. And that's kind of the benchmark that you're talking about there, the Thanksgiving. You draw a line in the sand. Teams that are in tend to stay in. Teams that are out tend to stay out. The Wild, they're right there. But if they can maintain health and get some momentum and find things going in the right direction, I really think that they'll get past this, and then we'll start to see a confident club come back out of it. And I think the homestand has been huge.
That's all that matters. Just get a chip in a chair in the playoffs. I mean, that is the whole deal. And I do think that's the way, as much regular season success as they had last year, I do feel like this year it's sort of like get to the tournament.
Yeah, and don't you think that that's kind of how it's felt right now? And part of the middling feeling is that it's like, okay, it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back all season.
All season.
And that's not necessarily just the play on the ice or winning hockey games. It's, all right, we're starting to get going. Oh, Marc-Andre Fleury gets hurt. Oh, we're starting to get going. Oh, Brodin's gone. Oh, we're starting to get going. And then something else keeps going off the rails a little bit.
But 2 steps forward and 1 step back wins a 7-game series pretty consistently now, doesn't it?
It does.
So I think getting that into our DNA and our cadence is probably a good thing. I just want a little more cushion.
Yeah.
I just hate this feeling of like, oh, man, I'll talk about some team that I think's terrible, And then I'll look in the standings, and they're like,
Well, this year's been
they're like 3 points behind us. I'm like, oh man, like I thought they like were, I could smell their carcass.
The
They're,
NHL
like right next to us.
been an anomaly this year a little
Parity.
bit. And I think that, there is a lot of parity, and teams that were supposed to run away with it are not, and teams that were not supposed to run away with it kind of are.
Yeah,
right?
you're seeing Colorado lose
Right.
5-0, and
But that's why I think this year's unique too, in that all of a sudden now we'll start to see the good teams start to separate themselves. I think you could almost erase what's happened in the first quarter of the season, and then the playoff teams will start to emerge now. Everybody's kind of found themselves what they are. We'll see, but it's intriguing. Like, you've got the Devils, who are on an absolute heater. Everything they do touches, turns to gold. You know, Seattle, they won 10-9 last night. Like, how was Seattle winning games like this? L.A.
is that a real score, 10-9?
I think last
Who did they play?
L.A.
Jesus, no wonder Fiala has so many points. What did we were 7-6 against them?
L.A. Same. Yeah. So there's weird stuff going on, and it's intriguing. It's fun across the league because last year where the Wild were never out of a game, that seems to have translated into the NHL. Like, nobody's out of a game right now. Scoring is up. It's fun. But yeah, again, two steps forward, one step back gets you a playoff win. And I would say the last point I'd make on the middling part is the roster composition too, and the lineup that they've had to play. It's been,
11-7.
Yeah, they've had to like shoehorn things just to try to figure it out and to buy time, and that's what it seems like they're doing, is buying time at times. But 11-7, so they're going 11 forward, 7 deep, and that can really throw things off. And Marcus Foligno against Arizona, 11-7. You miss a guy for 17 minutes like that, so almost now you just have 3 lines up front, and you're rolling them, or an extra guy. The guy gets lost, he's out of the game. 7D, changes become complex. The Wild have picked up a couple more bench minors because there's some chaos around the bench, and over time those things catch up with you. I think 11-7. I didn't love it as a forward. I understand why the Wild have to do it. At times, I think I maybe didn't mind it as a forward.
Why are we doing it? What's the reason, and what's good about it and what's bad about it as a player?
Well, I think part of the reason we're doing it is because you had good, solid play out of Goligoski, who was out of the lineup, came in. He gave us the spark, right? And it was a spark, and he did play well. You got to keep him in the lineup, right? Like, he produced something for you.
You could take someone out, though.
Yeah, and then you look at the salary cap and roster, like, how many extra bodies are you going to carry around? Like, if we lose somebody for a short period of time, you're going to put him on IR. What are you going to do? How's it going to work?
Who's he playing more? Is it really just a cheat to play Kirill more?
Well, that's all part of it, too.
I mean, it's like, well, I got to make all the defensemen happy. Yeah. Kirill, you're going to have to double shift.
That's what I was saying. Like, as a forward, sometimes that's great. Like, so I played the fourth line, so it was always you have 3 lines, and then fourth line has 2. Right.
97, take a shift with these guys.
And you're like, woohoo, yeah. But 97 actually doesn't want to take a shift with me. So he takes a quick one. You end up working real hard. But that's where it can be tough. And then all of a sudden those extra 2 guys, their job sometimes can become strictly special teams. And then it's hard because there's a lot of pressure on those special teams moments to go there after sitting 8 minutes straight to go say, all right, let's have a hard-working penalty kill shift and make sure we keep the puck out of our net. That can be hard to do. So 11-7 can throw off the flow of a game, too, in a real big hurry.
When Dean's doing it, does he have 3 lines and then 2 on the fourth line, and then he's throwing someone on the fourth line?
Usually.
And who's he typically putting with those 2 guys?
Well, I think he'd like to double Kirill and Boldy.
Okay.
And again, that's I think that illustrates that they're searching for offense, right? Yep. And they need to try to maximize scoring and get, for sure, Kirill away from checkers. And similar to what we were talking about with Panarin and Reaves and all of that, they're trying to find ways to get Kirill open ice, space. And that's one way, and I think that's a motivating factor as to why they might like going 11-7.
So McDavid coming in, I guess Brodin kind of has the codes on McDavid from, like, he's pretty good at making him go night-night.
Well, I think what he can do, he's probably one of the very few defensemen in the NHL that can match McDavid's feet, right? And
he's healthy now or not?
He's got a good stick. I don't know about Brodin. He was out with illness.
Okay, sick.
And was out of practice the other day. Don't know what's going on.
So that'll be good. I want to pay attention to that matchup now that it's gotten a little attention from last year. And then Zegras and the young kids are coming in. I bet you and Ryan Miller, that you wouldn't like that.
The young kids, because you picked up the old school nature.
Miller would definitely not like Zegras' style of play, for sure. Hey, how about Angry Moose the other night?
Yeah.
Is Angry Moose like the best?
Are some of these hunters, listeners, are the moose in the rut right now? Because that's what gets those guys all fired up, right? So
God,
might be.
When he is angry, when his wires get crossed, as they say, it's phenomenal because he's such a hero figure. I still love this. I was talking about it last year, Superman 2. It's like when Superman has 2 days of scruff, and you're like, oh, what's wrong with Superman? When he's that mad, because he'll go crazy.
But I also just believe that he's right when he gets.
I think that's
because he's not like that.
Yeah, like
he's not like that. So when he gets mad, you're like, yeah, he's right.
Even when he knocks guys out, he sets them on the ice.
Yeah.
He calls the 911.
Yeah.
But he is a. I like it. Angry Moose that's a drink we should make.
Well, I think he got mad because, and again, this for me illustrates kind of the situation and the stress that this team is under at times. Is that was going to put the team short, so they gave him an extra penalty. So now all of a sudden, where he fought a guy, the Wild are going to be shorthanded because of it, and then he ended up getting the 10 minutes and everything else. But he didn't want to have to kill a penalty. Didn't think that.
What do you have to say to get the extra 10? What did he? Was it because he threw his helmet? Why did he get the other? He got pinged. He got teed up basically.
Yeah, exactly. Teed up.
But did he? Do you have to cross a line, or is it just because he's throwing his helmet and carrying on?
I think there is a line, but I think that's the referee's discretion.
I'll have to ask him.
I don't know, but he
doesn't seem like a guy that would say something that's too far.
Yeah, no, and
I think just taking off all of his equipment and throwing it.
And not just going straight to the box and all that stuff. But yeah, I think that's kind of what that was about. Not just one singular thing he said or did. Just kind of you compile all of it together, and they gave him the 10.
Yeah, when it's taking 7 minutes for you to go to the box, that might help. Well, hey, let's finish this homestand with some 2 more W's. That would give us a little cushion. I hope everybody enjoyed getting to know Mr. Reaves. If anybody has some Timberland boots, he's looking for some. After
Need
the
big
snow.
boots, though.
Yeah, if anybody's got a 14.5 boot, a proper Minnesota boot, reach out to us and we'll get them to Revo.
And it doesn't matter how heavy they are. So I picked up his skate, and it was heavy because he put shot blockers on there and everything else too. So check them out next time if they zoom in on the camera. He'll have shot blockers on the sides, a 14.5 boot or 14 boot, whatever it is.
I think the skate's a 14.5. He's just saying the Jordans don't go up to 14.
Yeah. So the skate was big.
Yeah.
That thing was like.
He's a man, that's for sure, and he's part of the 7th Street Savages, which is not so bad.
Boom, one of us. All right, man. Appreciate it. Thanks, Reaves. Again, special thanks to Pilot Games, Aquarius Home Services, Duke Cannon, Jimmy's Dressings and Dips. Appreciate you guys. That's it. We're here.
Till it's here.